you wanna make some money online, you better listen to a mentor friend of mine. Well, pretty soon you're gonna know this song, as well as Dan Rain's Pretty Pink Thong. Adele is gonna teach you some skill until you've made your first $10 bill. It's the only place to be this year. That's the 30-day challenge. That's the 30-day challenge online.
Okay, boys and girls, we're going to do it again, okay? Now follow the words on the screen. Are you ready? Here we go.
A little bit of a blast from the past there. And welcome everybody to the 30-day challenge live broadcast. And of course, when we started 10 years ago, and thank you so much to Phil Mason, who was the official music scorer of the challenge. It was brilliant, and today I am super duper thrilled to be able to bring you all the details of the new challenge. And I wasn't kidding with that slide. What a time to be alive. I am convinced there has never been a better time to start a business. There's never been a better time, and I suppose I want to lay some of those fundamentals and some of those ground rules for you here today. We've got a really big audience, which is magnificent, and I'm thrilled to give you all the details of what's coming up this year. The first thing, of course, which is going to be different is this. It's what you're literally seeing now. We are going to be using all of the amazing live broadcast facilities to support what we're doing here on the challenge. And basically because, the most key thing to understand here, the key element to understand here, is that this is not about 30 days, it's not about 1 week, it's not about 7 days, it's not about 24 hours. It's about your overall approach to how you are doing things, how you are building things, how you are starting things. That is absolutely crucial in this day and age. And so it's very, very important for me to support you on a weekly basis as well when we go through the challenge. We've also got some great categories that we're going to be doing. I'm going to be talking to you about books of the week, stuff that I have seen, and I might stretch the definition of book a little bit, maybe even today, to show you some of the amazing things that really have, we've already got fabulous questions. And by the way, if you want to ask a question, because one of the key things is at the end of the broadcast, I'm going to stay here as long as I can to answer your questions every single week. So one of the questions I've already had is what has changed and they've mentioned the last 5 years. And I've got to say to you, what's changed over the last 18 months? Everything has changed. It really has. The way we approach things, the way that we put things together, the challenges that we had when we first started in 2005 compared to now, completely different environment. Things have changed. And I want to address some of those things in today's broadcast. So the idea is to keep the content part of this broadcast to around the 30-40 minutes. We've got a lot to talk about with the challenge today, so I'll do my best to keep to that. But I also will hang around and answer all of your questions. And we've got this very, very cool new system. All you have to do is, I think it's over there, if I'm pointing the right direction, just add your email in or use the email that you used for the challenge, and all of our systems are connected up. So you don't have to worry passwords and usernames and all those sorts of things. We'll be able to detect that we've got an active email there for you for the challenge, and you can participate along with this, all of this part of the process. All right, so let's just make sure everything else is going all right here, and we will get cracking. All right, we've got all that going. All that's going. Everything's there. Fantastico. All right. Well, look, let's get going. And I suppose the first thing that I want to talk about, and just looking at all my notes, we've got so many things to talk about. I've got actual notes. First thing, just for those of you who are new or those of you who haven't heard of the challenge, basically 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now, I was sitting in Trump Tower. Hilarious what's happened there in 10 years. It was after the second season of The Apprentice had finished. And I was sitting there in the Starbucks, and I'd bought this book, and it was called How to Write a Novel in 30 Days. And I thought that was cool, because I always thought that would be a cool thing to do. And so I was reading this book, and I was also reading the unauthorized biography of Steve Jobs at the time. And it just occurred to me at the time, because if you think back to 2005, a lot of the stuff that was teaching you how to make money online was really, hey, buy my stuff about how to, make money online by selling my stuff to other people about how to make money online. That's okay, I suppose, but not really what it's all about, because at the end of the day, a business is about making your first dollar, your first $10, making enough money to, pay all of those key bills that come in, and you start from there, because when you get, when your income from a online business or, a plan B business hits that point where it pays for the rent, pays for the mortgage, pays for the school fees, pays for the food, then all of a sudden you've got choices, and you're working in an environment of somewhere and something that you absolutely adore and something that you love. And that's our goal here. It's not to make, and never has been, to make $1 million. Many, many challenges over the last decade have, and that's awesome. But our goal here, our mission, is to get you started right, is to get your foundations right. And that's something that's always been absolutely crucial to our mission here with the challenge. It's making that first dollar is way more important, and setting things up. And so much has changed when it comes to the processes. But as much as the processes have changed, the media's changed, the concept of doing this live broadcast to all these people, it would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2005. It just wouldn't have been feasible to do. Yet now anybody with a smartphone can broadcast live. I mean, it's crazy. And that is wonderful when you think about it. So many things have changed. And I think in our next segment, what I want to do is I want to bring you what has changed and what has driven our thinking in terms of crafting the new challenge. But before that, just a little as a amuse-bouche, as a little freshener of the taste buds, I'm thrilled to introduce a new series as part of these live broadcasts called The Swipe File. And these are little 90-second interludes of really cool stuff that my founding partner in Magcast and Scrivcast, you know him, you love him, John Bass, has created a Swipe File program. Now, the Swipe File, for those of you who are maybe not familiar with direct mail and the magnificent history of direct mail, all great copywriters would always cut out ads that they loved to crimp from, to copy from and to inspire them. And it was always called the Swipe File. And my Swipe File, actually, you can't see, behind Maccapaca there, I have literally got folders of great direct marketing material that I have collected over the years. And so we thought, well, now in the 21st century, the Swipe File has to get a bit more sophisticated because so much is done through video and so on. And so John, who's the best deconstructor of funnels and things that I know, has agreed to create little videos for you each week as part of our live broadcast. So I want to bring up the first of the Swipe Files right now. Let me just set this shot up. I'll get better at this as we get along. And here we go. Take it away, John.
All right, so this is a landing page from John Reese right here for his traffic secrets. I like this template. I haven't seen this template before, And I think it's pretty cool, especially if you're doing a launch. And when you're doing a launch, as you may know, you are releasing 3 videos, 3 free videos, and where you are providing awesome value, and at the same time you're educating your market, you are positioning yourself as an expert, as an authority, you're getting social proof. It's really awesome. You know, doing a launch is really, really powerful. That's exactly what John is doing. I like this template, so check it out and maybe, you know, add it to your swipe file. You have a couple of elements. I would make maybe some changes to it. You know, if we implement this in our business, I will make probably one change, but again, you know, I'll have to test it. I'll tell you what it is shortly. But let's break down this page, right? We have the logo, the brand right here, Traffic Secret, that's the brand. Right here we have an image which has 3 videos because you are opting in for a video series, right? That's what's awesome. You're basically positioning this as pure value, which is awesome. And you have the 3 videos right there. I like this. I like what he did. Then you have the headline right here, the Great Traffic Evolution, what you absolutely must do in 2016 to grow your business online. That's the headline right here, okay? Then we have the benefits right here with bullet points. Now, you know, the truth is that most people are not going to read everything, right? So, but you just want to have some benefits right there. Then you have the call to action, get instant access to the first video now, okay? Nice and easy. And then watch video now, all right? That's again what they're going to get. So what I would like, you know, the things that when you land on this page, I like this template a lot. I'm going to definitely test it out in our next launch. But what I would like to maybe test is maybe having the button, you know, after the headline. So you have the logo, the images here of the 3 videos, headline, and maybe the call to action. Maybe this goes right here, and then benefits, and maybe you do that again. And the reason is because otherwise, you know, you see that this is below the fold. That means I need to scroll down to be able to see it, and that's not ideal, right? I like to have my call to actions be above the fold, especially when it comes to an opt-in. But again, this is stuff to test. Maybe this version works much better, all right? Nonetheless, check out this template, guys, right? You see it in the video, and you can ask your designer, your programmer to do something like that. I really like it. I think it's pretty cool, especially if you're doing a launch. All right, guys. Thanks all for watching. Have a great day. Take care.
And I'll get much smoother with those segues. Thanks, John, for the swipe file. And we've got another swipe file coming at you a bit later in the show. So, all right, what has changed? Well, if you think about 2005 and the environment we were in, if you've been a long-time viewer, and we've got so many new people, so apologies if you hear me reminiscing a little bit, but it's very useful for you to understand the context of why the challenge has developed in the way it has. If you look at 2005, and indeed for all of the challenges that anybody's participated, we have had one thing that has maintained its paramount status, and that is the Magnificent Symphony of 4 Parts. What's that mean? It's a rather humbling title, and it was me trying to point out that there was 4 things that we need to think about in this very specific order. They were market research. Is there a market for our stuff? That was the first thing. The second thing was, is there traffic? Can we get traffic for our thing, our niche that we are interested in or we're curious about? The third thing is conversion. Will people spend money in our niche? That was a very important consideration. And how will they sell money in this niche? And the fourth thing was, finally, after all of that, the product. Okay, most people, still to this day, spend 95% of their time trying to come up with a brilliant product, and then they release the product and say, here it is, here's my better mousetrap, and nobody needs it. Nobody wants it. And that is a tragedy, right? Because you put all that willpower, all that effort, something you'll hear me go on to again and again. You talk about things that have changed. That is a significant thing. But let's keep focused for now. Okay, let's fast forward to 2016. Traffic in 2005 was easy and cheap. Okay, it was 5 cents a click, as many keywords as we used to upload 30 and 40,000 keywords every day to Google and just saw what stuck. It was super easy. You could get a #1 ranking on a high traffic keyword just like that. It was super simple. However, creating a product, oh my goodness, expensive and hard. You didn't have distribution like this. YouTube didn't exist. iPhones and smartphones didn't exist, for goodness sake. None of these things existed, right? I remember the original Underachiever formula cost over $200,000 to produce, like create the products. That was the hard part, and it would take months. Preparing something like the challenge, the actual content and the site that held the content took months. Fast forward to today, and of course everything has changed. Product creation is super easy. You just need one of these things. Right? You can do blabs from these. We can live broadcast from these. We can create keynote presentations from these. Everything that we used to do in terms of product creation can be done as simply as that. Now, I acknowledge to you, right, it's very easy for me to say, oh, it's all super simple. All this product creation is super simple. I get it. If you don't know what you're doing, of course, it's still a challenge. But the reality is the product creation part is much easier, much cheaper. For goodness sake, if you can't do it yourself, you can hire somebody on Fiverr to do it for you for $5. It's so much easier, the product side. What's hard? It's attention. The fact that we've got hundreds of you on this broadcast now is unbelievable. There are so many awesome things you could be doing. In fact, if we look back at the first challenge, I used to say, the challenge of search engines and the challenges of those of us in markets and niches was to get through all the dross so we can show people the absolute good stuff. Now what's our problem? Our challenge is that there is so much good stuff to go through. Right? How big's your Netflix queue? How many articles have you got on your pocket reader that you want to read and that you want to see? How many? Right? Stacks. How many cool Snapchat posts are there? How many Twitter posts are you behind? Right? If you look at content, how many Kindle books have you got that you still want to read? Right? Our problem today is, forget the dross, there's too much awesome stuff out there for us. So when you have somebody's attention in your marketplace, it is an incredible gift in this day and age. Attention is everything, right? And the cool part, and what I want to set you up with the new challenge, the most important fundamental is, how do you do that, right? How do you gain somebody's trust and attention in a day and a time when there is so many other calls? They could be playing Candy Crush instead of doing what you're doing. They could be watching Housewives of Atlanta instead of doing what they're doing. And that is the huge challenge. So good luck. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Hopefully you'll figure it out. What? You want more? Yes, of course you do. Why did I start off this entire broadcast saying that there's never been a better time to start a business? But Ed, you've just told us it's so hard to get attention. Well, it's because of this, okay? It's the 1,000 true fans principle. And it's an awesome principle. And you just need to find 1,000 people who are prepared to spend one day's wages with you over the course of the year, and you have a $100,000 business. Think about that for a second. I ask all of you on this broadcast, think about a hobby, maybe you've been, for goodness sake, if you've been to one major concert, if you went to see Tay-Tay in concert, you spent over $100 just on one concert, right? If you went to Hamilton on Broadway, you probably spent thousands, because how did you get a ticket? You cheat, right? It's unbelievable what we are prepared to spend on entertainment and quality information. And that is our advantage, because just $100, and as I say, think about it. How many of you spent way more than that in the hobby that you're passionate about? You just need 1,000 people. You might recall in early challenges, if you're a long-time veteran, and thank you for all the veterans who attend the challenge. One of the things about the challenge, it's targeted at the person who is an absolute beginner. It's literally the best starting place on the internet. Most people now, and it's funny, you talk about things that have changed, absolute beginner material in online marketing and creating an online business is actually pretty scarce on the ground, because people don't want to deal with people who just because they're not worth enough money. That's why the challenge exists, is to take you through these initial steps to get you started right. Because if you start right, you'll end right. Whereas if you start wrong, it just costs more and more and more, and you get more and more dispirited. Because again, what we know about energy, and I've talked about energy twice already, that makes a significant difference. So, what has changed? So we've talked about already market. Let's think about market for a second. In 2005, the question was, is there a market for my stuff online? And that was a big deal, right? Because there wasn't a market for everything online. There just wasn't. A lot of markets weren't online in 2005 because in 2005, these things didn't exist. Yes, I know nerds. There were the trios and all those things. But here's the thing. There are now 10 times as many of these things than there were desktops in 2005. 10 times, an order of magnitude greater. What does that mean for us? That means, here's the news flash. Here's the first major dramatic change. And that is, guess what? Every market is a market. You might want to write that down. Every market is a market. How do I know this? Well, back in the challenge in 2005, we had to make, because when we used real live markets, like if we talked about dog training or parrots talking or how to have a Cinderella wedding on a pauper's budget. Not the moment that we said a particular niche, then literally hundreds and hundreds of people would start creating something in that niche because they just thought, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that niche. So to stop that, to protect these niches that were making us money, we made up something, and we made up underwater kickboxing. Now, not right now, because I don't want you to waste your bandwidth because you're watching me, but after this broadcast, go Google underwater kickboxing. It's now a thing. We made it up. But now there's underwater kickboxing. They use it for training methodologies for live kickboxing. It's a thing now. There's equipment, there's gear, there's arenas. It's unbelievable. Right? If piano stool restoration is a $100,000 a year business, if pottery valuation is a $100,000 a year business, the privilege of being in my position in the challenge and watching Magcasters and Scrivcasters and watching all of these people do their thing, it's been remarkable to just see how many people have been able to create that $100,000 living. And we know Daniel Pink's book Drive talks about the $70,000 mark. For most people, $70,000, if you clear $70,000, you're going to be living okay. Sure, we're not talking Ferraris and flash boats and, private NetJet accounts. But that's never been my style. It's never been my thing. And I suspect for those of you watching today, that's not your thing either. Look, are there challenges that have gone on to do those things? Of course, they have. It's been magnificent, and I'm thrilled for their journey, and even more excited when they come and approach me at conferences and tell me their stories. I love hearing that. Don't make no mistake. But the reality is, we want to build a lifestyle business because, there's a number of ways that you could go here, okay? You could go the route of, okay, I want to create a $10 million business. Okay, cool. That's great. I applaud you. And I still think the 4 modules of the challenge are the most important things you need to do in any niche to create a $10 million business or a $1 million business or a $100,000 business. It's the same. The fundamentals never change. Tools, of course. Fundamentals never change. So what am I talking about here? So the thing that you don't take into account, okay, the thing that you don't take into account is that to create a $10 million business, that is a 40 hours to 60 hour a week, 6-7 day a week decision, right? It's intense. In my 20s, I did that. right? It was totally sweet, because I had the time, the energy, I didn't have the commitments, I didn't have the family, all of those sorts of things. So I was happy to work like that. Now, my priorities are different. I want to build a business that supports my lifestyle. So I'd rather change, I'm happy with $1 million business, not a $10 million business, because it's more than enough for what I need and what the kids need and what everybody else needs, right? That's fine. Now I do better than that, but that's lucky, right? That's cool. But what I know is that if you can, imagine, be in a niche, a market that you love, that you're passionate about, and you can make money in that market, that can be your full-time gig, that's incredible. And you can do it not by hustling, and I love Gary Vee as much as the next person. I really, he's an awesome guy, right? Really. He makes me tired, but he's an awesome guy. And, you're talking about hustling. I'm a big fan of sleep, and I really do like The Housewives of Atlanta. And I love Top Chef, and I love watching TV, and I love playing computer games. I think you can build a lifestyle which equates to both. For a lot of you watching this right now, you're in a 9 to 5. Your source of money that's paying the rent, that's paying the bills, that's paying everything, right, is from another source. And that's cool. Because part of what's so important about the challenge, and what has changed, again, continuing on this theme, is the scientific understanding of how we work. Just is completely and fundamentally different. The amount of science over the last 2 to 3 years has literally exploded what we know about the way we interact. And after this swipe file from Johnny B, I'm going to explain exactly what I'm talking about. Take it away, JB.
All right, so check this out. This is an email that I have just received from John Reese. This is the email about video number 2. He has just released video number 2 as part of his launch. And usually when you're running a launch, you are going to send an email to all your subscribers. Everybody that has joined the launch, you are going to send an email for video 1, when you release video 2, when you release video 3, right? And you're going to send an email. And most of the time we try to do a great job at coming up with awesome copy, promoting the videos. And check this out, right? Just an email I got from John, and subject line, super simple. Watch video number 2, right? And then the title of the video, 23 traffic getting mistakes. Boom, nice and simple. And then we have a logo right here for the email. That's branding, right? He wants to look professional. That's awesome. And then the 23 traffic getting mistakes video is ready for you to watch. Boom. Click here to watch the video. That's it. That's all it is, right? Super simple, very short, to the point, clear call to action. And this is very cool, right? So check it out, test it out, see how it performs, add this to your funnel, take this swipe and see how it performs compared to maybe you had an email with a different type of copy, right? A longer type of copy, email
Test
copy.
1, 2.
Well, try that. Super short, straight to the point, and see what works best. This is very cool. I'm definitely going to try that in our next campaign. All right, guys. Thanks all for watching. Have a great day. Take care.
And yay, I got a smoother transition that time. Thank you, JB. And I hope you enjoy the swipe box, because I think it's fascinating in this day and age for us to take the chance on a weekly basis to just highlight for you some of the cool techniques and things that we're seeing that we think are really important. And just as a quick reminder, if you sign up, of course, at the challenge.co, or you sign up just here or here. I think it's here, if I get my things right. Yeah, there, I hope. Wherever it is, you can sign up. Just pop in a good email address, because that's the email address we're going to communicate with you about the challenge. And we're only going to communicate with, to let everybody know about this broadcast, we emailed everybody, right? But from now on, for the challenge, only people who have registered there at the site, we're only going to send them the information, because that's what they want, and you don't want to be updated about the challenge at all times. But let's continue on. And of course, if you've got a question, feel free to ask it there, and the team's collating those questions, and I'll tackle those at the end of the broadcast. So, what else has changed? One of the key elements is willpower, energy, and understanding how we act. This has been a crucial and game-changing fundamental understanding. And it comes from two areas. And I'm going to talk about them extremely briefly because I know you want all the details of this year's challenge. But I suppose this segment would typically be the book of the week segment in what will be our normal show. But this week, as we prep for the challenge and as I announce all the details of the challenge, there's a couple of things that we've learnt and simply did not exist in 2005 that can really fundamentally change the game. Now, the first thing I want to bring up here is this little thing here. This little thing here. This one right here. And I turn down. Boom. This is a Kolbe result. Now, this thing costs about $49. There's I haven't got an affiliate link or any associate. I absolutely work with the Kolbe Group after what we discovered and what it has meant for entrepreneurs. But this Kolbe A index, which is, as I say, it's a $49 charge, so it's two good books, right? This has been dramatic in terms of understanding this key fundamental. So many of us, and I know for a fact, so many of you on this broadcast tonight have been brought up to work on your weaknesses. So you have strengths, but you almost put those to one side because our education system and everything we've been taught is to acknowledge where we're weak and to work on those. And if the one most profound statement, and the reason I think there's never been a better time to be alive than starting a business right now, is that you should just focus on your strengths. Just focus on your strengths, because there's never been a better time to find team members, and you'll see my very broad concept of a team as we go through the challenge. It could be somebody you hire on Fiverr, all right? It could be a mastermind partner. It could be anybody. But there's never been a better time to find people to work with who are strong in areas where you're weak. And what's awesome about the Kolbe result, I'm not a huge fan of these environmental, emotional quotient, IQ tests, Myers-Briggs, all of these personality style tests. Not a huge fan because they're interesting, but I don't find them to be really useful from an action perspective. And the amazing thing about a Kolbe index result is it's got nothing to do with your personality, got nothing to do with your emotions, and it's got everything to do with pure and simply how you act and what takes you the least amount of energy to act. And that is what's so powerful. You can see my index. There's no good or bad result, by the way. If you are listening to this broadcast, guess what? You are qualified to be an entrepreneur. Because there's no way 95% of people on the planet wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes of this broadcast. Okay? They just wouldn't have. But because you are listening right now, I know for a fact you want to start a business. You have the entrepreneurial spirit in you. We understand that. We get that. And what's amazing is that you have the ability to go through all of these elements, and you have the ability to be able to understand how you work and how, most importantly, you act. And why is this so important for the challenge? Why is this so amazing? And why do I think this is such a brilliant thing for you to go through right now? The reason I think it's so important is because this teaches you how you act and what takes the least amount of energy. Let me give you a classic example. Okay, let me just come back to me for a second. Me doing what I'm doing now, okay, talking on video to you guys and running all the tech behind doing all this is as easy as falling off a log for me. It is something I am naturally good at. It's something I feel really comfortable doing. I don't need a script in front of me. Yet, I know for a fact, and I'll explain how I know for a fact, 35% of you watching right now would rather punch themselves in the face than do what I'm doing. Does that mean you are never going to make it as an online business entrepreneur or a business entrepreneur or start up your own thing? No, absolutely not. You just have to approach it a different way. For example, blog posts. To me, you want to see me break out in a sweat? You want to see me write stress, and you want to see me procrastinate and get me to write a blog post. Right? Writing. I failed English in high school, for goodness sake. It is just not me. It's just not me. I've written some blogs, and here's the problem with me, and a lot of you, is I've written some great blog posts, if I do say so myself. Some that have been viewed by literally millions of people, which is astounding, given my complete lack of, and anybody who's read one of my emails will know what I'm talking about. But I thought, I've got to do blog posts. I've got to, because that's important, right? I've got to work on my weakness. I've got to work. And I've done 30-minute writing sessions a day for a year. I've done all this. I have forced myself to do this stuff. And the amazing thing about Kolbe, the absolutely astounding thing about Kolbe, is that it tells me that I'm okay, that's cool. And actually, freakily, it absolutely tells me. And apparently you're hearing Kathy, so sorry about that. But this report, which is sort of like a book, it's that it tells me, and this is freaky. If you're reading this stuff, and I'll pause, Kathy. If you're reading this stuff, right, this is me. It's a freak show. And why do I know this is good? Why am I so passionate about it? Why would I get you to spend $49? You don't have to spend $49, because I'm going to tell you the 3 profiles, right, of entrepreneurs that take the challenge. And I'll tell you why I knew this in a sense. But this is freaky. This is free. Look, read this stuff. How does she know this about me? This is freak show material. I don't get it, right? It is amazing. So, all of these things, create shortcuts. Yeah, follow through. By the way, approximately 60% of you are in the 6 or under when it comes to follow through, which raises some interesting things. Have you ever tried outsourcing and not been a good thing? This is why. These are the sorts of revelations that you get when you understand this thing. Okay, how do I know all of this? How do I know? Okay, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And those of you who've been following along closely, you'll know about this. Last year, at the end of the last year, and the reason, frankly, that I'm doing the new challenge now as opposed to when I should have, was because of all of this. Because I realised that, hang on, if people take action in different ways, if I'm telling you to shoot a sales video as part of your challenge, I'm telling you to do that, and you are of the type of action profile, which 35% of you are, I know for a fact, then the challenge is a waste of time for 35% of you. And I'm here to make the challenge as relevant as possible to you. I want to make it work to you. You personally, listening to this. So I had to change everything. Because now I understand, and every private client that I work with that pays me $5,000 a month to work with them, I get them to take this test. Because I can then know, just by seeing this, and it's freaky, in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tests. Indeed, the largest field trial ever conducted of startup entrepreneurs, which was, guess what, drawn from challenges, people just like you. It has been absolutely fundamental. It has been absolutely fundamental to changing the way we work. Because once you understand how you work and you understand what your strengths are, guess what? It's about energy. And you talk about the other thing that we know, and the most massive change since 2005 is scientists have worked out how you work and what energy is possible and what energy is available to you. And it's a fuel tank, okay? The energy that you have available is a fuel tank. Your willpower is a fuel tank. And here's the deal. And don't worry, we go into this in the first week of the module. I'm just skirting it right now. But the first week of the challenge, we'll go into depth in this so you really understand this. But here's the deal. You have a fuel tank. And when you do something, say you're like for me for a blog, you know how when you floor a car and you can have a really inefficient car that sucks the fuel and gets the gas? That's what happens when you do something out of your character, out of your Colby Index. You withdraw that, you suck on that fuel even more because it's like you need that much more energy, that much more power. You've got to floor the accelerator that much more to do what you need to do because you think it's the most important thing to do. You think that just because, well, Ed's got a YouTube channel, so I should have a YouTube channel. No, you shouldn't. For 35% of you out there, YouTube channel is the last thing you should ever be doing because it'll kill you. It'll kill you. But here's the best news. Never been a better time for you to be able to choose the method. There's never been more ways to reach your market and educate your market. You only need to have 1,000 true fans and you have a $100,000 business. And you do that over 12 months. That's astounding, right? When you think about that, that is astounding, okay? And that's why my book of the week is the Colby Index. Okay, so that's the Colby Index. Again, in the show notes and the links below, which are not there now because, of course, it's live, but after the event, they will be here. I'll give you a link to go off. And it's the Colby. There are plenty of Colby indexes. It's the Colby A Index is the one that you want. Okay, so that's the one that you want. All right. Let's have a look here. What else have we got? What else do you guys want to talk about? Is there anything else you tuned in for? I can't remember. I think that's a pretty good show. Oh, hang on a second. What's this? What's this you're seeing on screen? Oh my goodness. What's this? What's this fully filled in modules? What's this? Well over, 100 videos you say? In creating and building things? And the Challenge TV show? What is going on here, Ed? The first thing that you need to know right now is as long as you have registered at challenge.co, in your email box in the morning will be access, wait for it, you will have access to the full challenge tomorrow morning in your mailbox. You're welcome. That will be a mic drop, except Google ruined mic drops with this stupid April Fool's fun. Yes, that's right. The biggest fundamental change was we used to dole out the information, the challenge, every single day. We realized, of course, that people want to start a business at any time, right? They really do. And so now when you register for the challenge, you'll have access to all of the content today. Because what's changed? Netflix. That's what's changed. Who's watching Daredevil season 2 at the moment? Oh, awesome. The whole phenomena of binge watching. Okay, people want access to all of their content right now. Now, as I will explain to you in this very first video of the challenge, I'm going to explain to you that binge watching and binge trying to do the challenge is the absolute worst possible thing that you could possibly do. You will fail. You will fail the challenge. You won't start your business if you binge. However, we do want you to be able to work at your own pace. And again, because of the Colby reports, we know that people work at different paces depending on how they are. And they have different modes. And what's awesome is not only do you have video and audio, not only do you have individual tasks and individual challenges, but this year you have an entire workbook, okay, that you have available to download. So for people who prefer to work with the workbook, you have an entire challenge workbook, which John Bass and the team have put together. We are trying to cater for everybody's modes of learning. So we have gone above and beyond creating all of the content for you so you can consume it in your own pace, in your own time. The only thing, of course, is that because we're not going to bombard people on old lists and all of those sorts of things, unless you've signed up here at challenge.co, even those veterans who may have been with us for years and years, if you haven't signed up there, you're not going to get any emails about this, right? So you're going to get a username and password to sign into all of this, and you will have access to this entire thing. And there's, the content, and, people say this and it gets a bit watered down, but it's the reality. The fact is, we could charge thousands of dollars for this course. We could, right? Because it's the fundamental building blocks of getting your business started. And I don't care what it is. It can be a startup. It can be a real world physical business. It can be an online business. The fundamentals don't change. And we've got to take allowances. We've got to take allowances for people who are tech challenged, right? As long as if you're watching this broadcast, you are overqualified to conduct the challenge. It's always been our goal. And so, the new challenge is all about all of the content, all available to you right now. And literally tomorrow morning, overnight, you will receive your emails with full access to the challenge. It's ready to go. Like I said, mic drop. So we're thrilled to be able to do that for you. And I hope that for those of you who are staying on are excited about that, because there's immense amount of work goes into building and creating the challenge. As always, there is no charge for awesomeness. And frankly, pen and paper is the most important tool that you need to conduct the challenge, as I do for all of the things that I do. Pen and paper, that side, you can see over there, my Kanban board. It's the whole, as much as I am the biggest geek on the planet, there's probably more technological devices here than in an Apple store within reach. But that's not what it's about. It's about the understanding. And what you should be excited about right now, what you should be totally excited about right now, is that you should be thrilled, because right now, whatever market you're thinking in your head, that, geez, I'd love to be involved in that market. Geez, I'd love to do that. I would so love to be a Reiki practitioner. I would so love to make a living doing what I love, pottery valuation. I would so love to review the dog parks of America. I want to publish and build a tribe around people who play Hearthstone, the online card game. There has never, ever been a better time for you to do those things, which is super duper sweet. All right, so lots of excitement there. Let me just do some refreshing here. So much to talk about, and the reason, and here's the thing, the challenge is every week, because, and you'll hear me go into this in detail, but if you're serious about this, being a professional is not the amount of time you put in. It's got nothing to do with the number of hours. The best violinists in the world train less than the next tier. There was this amazing study done of the Berlin Symphony Orchestra, and they realized that the first violinist, something that I know a lot about in this house, because Annabelle, of course, plays violin, and they're very serious, these violinists. But people who play first violin, as compared to those who play second violin, because there's a strict hierarchy in orchestras, they practice less than the people in second violins, but they practice differently. They know how to practice. And so we built the challenge based on the absolute latest information on willpower, on energy management, on the way you work, the way you act. And again, if you don't have to take the Colby Index, it's not a requirement, and I know it's a $49 thing. As I say, I don't get a cent of that, but I can't tell you how incredibly powerful it is when you understand your strengths and you understand how to work, how to act. That's all. It's not it's not emotionally breaking you down. And I can tell you, because literally now we have trialed this on hundreds of people from the challenge. The largest ever trial field test of all of these techniques you are getting the experience of right now in this year's challenge, which I'm thrilled about. So let's go to the where's my questions and live Somebody saying, where do I send the check? You don't have to. There is no charge for awesomeness. Let me just do a refresh of this page. So we do that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to live Q&A. So I am going to, get a drink of water. So we're going to, let me see what I can do here. What can we do here? I can give you a GIF of that cat getting excited. Here we go. Let's see, where are we there? Oh, no, I can't because I turned that off. Let's watch John's swipe box just because it's an exciting time to be alive, and then I will be back to answer all your questions. I'll get better at this. This is our first show. A key thing that you'll learn as part of going forward in the challenge is that all of these things, getting out there and getting your product out there in whatever method you feel most comfortable that plays to your strengths, you've got to start. You've got to get in the field of play. So yes, we're a little bit rusty with our first broadcast, but we'll get better. We'll get better every time. And every time we do it, we'll get cleverer and cleverer, and I'll have things prepared so I can go get a drink of water, for example. So all of these things are there. But let's listen to John. And for those of you tuned in late, this is a swipe box that we played earlier, and we're going to be playing these little vignettes right through Challenge Life because we want to keep up to date with you guys. And it's on a weekly basis. I want to check in and I want to answer your questions live on a weekly basis every week because that's what's awesome. And that's the modern environment, right? That's the world now that we live in. And we're back. I had an espresso shot, a couple of glasses of water. We are ready to go and answer all of your questions. Yes, we'll have, I need to do a whole lot of bumpers, as we say in the trade. So we need to get that going. Okay, so let's go with your questions. Russ asks here, have you ever considered a career as a DJ? Only recently, and it would have been awesome. But yes, I made some wrong choices in life, and instead of taking a pill in Ibiza, I have sitting here with you today. But in another life, I would have enjoyed that. I enjoy a sick banger as much as the best person. Miles says, thanks for that. I know we can go through our material at our own pace, but will you be talking about specific module on the next live TV show? That is a great question. Thank you, Rob, because I should have mentioned that during the broadcast. You're absolutely right. From now on, we'll actually have a segment each week which will be going in to detail and depth about a particular part of the module. And yes, for the next few weeks, we will be focusing sort of on Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, Module 4. So we'll always go into detail. Another reason that we're doing the live show, of course, is there's new tools, there's cool new stuff happening all the time. And if we can show you something in this live broadcast, then we're going to bring it to you. You can't have for the challenge, again, look at the differences. That's been the theme of this broadcast. Differences between 2005 and now is, things need to evolve because things are evolving so quickly. The concept of minimum viable product is such an important one. We need to be in the field because we can now build things so cheaply, so quickly, and so inexpensively. For goodness sake, you could, for example, if this was your, if you were this way inclined, if you enjoyed speaking in front of a camera, which about 60-odd% of you do, you could create a blab, for goodness sake, on the phone, record it, and that could be your new lead magnet for your new funnel. Right? That's how easy it is to create. And I know I said that in an instant, and if that sounded like gobbledygook, it's not easy for you, but that's cool. We'll go through it together. But the point is, or you may create a PDF like we did for the thing. And in fact, you don't create the PDF, you just outline it roughly, go to Fiverr and get somebody to make it look pretty for you, as an example. So, those are all the sorts of things that you could potentially do. Stan asks a great question. Is there a limited time frame to complete the challenge? No, there's not. Now, what does that mean? That means more of you will fail it. It's the facts. Because there's no deadline on you to finish it in a certain time before content's taken down. A lot of you will think, oh, I'll get to it. Yeah, I'll come to it. Yeah, I'll get to do it. And that would be a mistake. Bluntly, big mistake. But, again, what's different? In the old days of media and publishing and training, the author was way up here, or the TV presenter or the DJ was at the top of the pyramid, and they pronounced edicts down upon to the masses. You can't do that anymore. I'm here to serve you. If you guys are listening to this, I'm not going to say, you need to have this done by a certain time. Who am I? I'm just thrilled that you're not watching Housewives of Atlanta instead of this. Because I know it's a toss-up for me. So, for you guys to be here, that's crucial. So, you need to answer that question. I'm not going to put artificial deadline on you anymore. We used to do that, and there was good reasons for doing that. And if my advice to you is to put your own artificial deadline into it, and I think at 30 days or doing it over the course of the month and chunking it down, and we talk about this in Module 1, that's the smart way to do it. We've got over decades of stats now. Over 400,000 people have attempted the challenge. And we can tell, right? There is a direct correlation between the percentage of success of people who logged in each day and did little chunks every day compared to those that just tried to cram it on a weekend, right? The people who tried to cram it very rarely successfully completed the challenge. The people who did a little bit each day, they are the ones who successfully do the challenge. And now that is backed up with science. Remember that willpower fuel tank. If you go at something for a start, we know in science, and despite what you hear about the hustle and despite what you hear about all these other things, you can only be at peak intensity for maybe 2 or 3 hours, absolute maximum. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Right? You can only be at peak creative, productive capacity for 2 to 3 hours a day. After this, I will be shot for the day. Right? I'm not going to do anything productive after this because it takes every ounce of it. And I know that now, and I'm not going to beat myself up over it because science tells me. So if science tells me, why am I going to beat myself up over, I've done what I needed to do, launched the challenge, mic drop, done all of that. So energy management is vital. And the great news is that we know so much more about that. And you will hear me constantly talk about on the live show because there's so much we know about it. And, things like what you see behind me, and I'm sure a book of the week recommendation coming up, Personal Kanban. 65% of you, let me just see if, I'm just going to blow your minds, right? It's like I'm the mentalist, okay? For a lot of you, 6 in 10 of you watching this broadcast now, let me describe your life, okay? You love cool new stuff, okay? You love it. And what you love more than anything is a new productivity system. Oof, gets you high. You love that shit, right? You just love a new productivity. I love a new productivity system. There's a new to-do app. There's a new method of getting things done. I am there. Sign me up. And you'll spend all that time and you'll set up the app and you'll get it all done beautifully and you'll put it all together and it'll be wonderful, right? And then you'll never open it again. Head nod. Does that describe some of you on this call? I'm tipping 6 in 10 of you to be exact. That is correct. Right? How can I predict that? How can I predict about you? And how do I know? Well, it's not me. It's Kathy Colby, actually. But if I know that about somebody, and I know that, then I know that I need to create a system or have it. What's a system that is designed for people like that? And that is what we have done, right? We have, and we'll talk about over time. In fact, hey, check this out. Little commercial. In fact, if I've just described you and you want to try it, it's totally free. It's totally nothing to charge here. I needed an app, which I realized that when I set up rituals, things that I need to do it again, the Kanban board is not so good for rituals. It's awesome for organizing all sorts of other things. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, we will talk about it. at length, I'm sure, as we go forward. I'm seeing how many people going, oh, this is crazy. This is amazing. I can't believe it. See, I'm the mentalist. I should have been a mentalist as well, right? But here's the thing. I created Achiever here, which you can act. And by the way, Android, look at this. I love Android. Look at this. This is a Galaxy Edge S7. See, I'm cool with Android. I love Android. As much as I love iPhone. No, are you serious? Get real. No, but my point being is that, for example, I realized this, and I was speaking to John about it, and John said, hey, I can build you an app. So what this app does here is it reminds me of the things that I need to do each and every day, right? There are 5 things that I want to do every single day. And I know and this is you, as I say, if you just agreed with me and said, yes, that's me, you need some form of visual system, like in your face system, because you're never going to open up a book. You're the type of person who puts stuff into Evernote and then never looks at it again. Right? It's me. Now, for 40% of you listening to this right now, you're shaking your heads and going, what are you talking about? Are you a freak? That is, and now Tracy says here, Tracy, I'm going to highlight here, head nodding shamefully. This is what I want to free. Don't be ashamed of that. That's just who you are. And that's what's so amazing about this year's challenge and working forward, and why it's such an awesome time to be alive, and why we delayed till now to do this. It's because, right, people act differently. We are different. And indeed, most of the 3 key entrepreneurial profiles that people who are watching this broadcast exhibit, you are 5% of the population. Literally 95% of the population doesn't think like you. It's just the facts. And yet, as human beings, we just think, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll look at that, I'll do that. That's how we think. But, there you go. So anyway, back to Achiever. What Achiever does is that it puts in, you never have to open, once you set it up, you never have to open the app again. It'll remind you on your Apple Watch, if you've got it, or your phone, or your Android device. It'll actually ping you to remind you. Don't interact with the app at all. You only it uses these cool new smart notifications. So I just bring that up. It's a little ad. We can have an ad. So there you are. So yeah, check it out. It's totally free. So rock it out. And by the way, if you download it, you'll get my 5 daily rituals that I do every day. There you have it. Just a reminder, if you're watching this later or you've just joined us, mic drop time, the challenge will be available tomorrow. Or indeed, if you're watching this in replay, it's available now. All you have to do is make sure you are registered at challenge.co, because that's where we're going to email all the stuff to. And anything to do with the challenge, we're only going to email people that are registered there. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, let's keep going with questions. Josh asks a great question here, is how's your team set up and how do you do project management these days? Boy, is that a big question. Because my commitment is to answer all questions, I get this. Usually I have actually you probably can't see it. Just there is a list, hang on, where my finger is pointing, there is a list of key books. They're all on Scrum, SCRUM. Team management and the way you run a team, and particularly if you take Kolbe and you take team management, everything changes. See, there's a group of people who have solved the team management, getting stuff out there, shipping issue, and they are software nerds and geeks, software developers. Think about it. How often are your apps updating on your devices? They are being updated every week, it seems. It's crazy, right? Whereas if you remember the old days, you'd be lucky to get 1 update of software per year. Scrum, agile development, has changed all of that. Now, what I've been doing, and what's been this privilege as part of that entrepreneurial study, is to implement this really, really, really cool system, which is Agile for Entrepreneurs. So if you want to do your own research on it, then the book I would recommend is Scrum by Jeff Sutherland. That'll give you the best overview. And if you're really interested, I've actually, and look, it was a slight commercial, but it's not open now, so you can't even do it. But we'll have a new semester of Achiever Formula. If you want to see all of the team development, all of the project management, how we work, what that board there is and why it's so important, why it's changed everything and why it's changed everything for my clients, we will have a new semester of Achiever Formula opening up very soon. But again, I don't want to be pitchy on this, but you asked, so what can I do? Amar asks how to be consistent. And look, when you're talking about consistency, there's no question about module 1. I actually talked to you about this. The best piece of advice I can give you is, because I know most of you haven't, the way you're earning income right now is this: you're not doing this full time. You're doing this on a very part-time basis. You need to chunk. You need to dedicate 30-minute periods of time, and you need to do those consistently. Don't cram, right? The biggest mistake you can make is save up and think, you know what, I'm going to slam this in 6 hours on the weekend. It's not going to work, right? It's a very rare individual that can work that way. Most of you who are on this cannot work that way. So that is my biggest piece of advice. What process would you go through to decide what online business best fits your personality? This is a great question, Russell. Thank you very much. Okay, let me split that. First of all, and boy, talk about a massive difference between 2005 and 2016. In 2005, you could create a business that you didn't really care about. Okay, you could do it. No problemo. In fact, most of my early online ebook successes were in topics that I didn't know anything about. But you could create something and people would buy it. And I wasn't putting out crap. It was very good stuff. I was getting other people to implement it. Now, can't do it. Sorry. You need to be passionate about your market. So the good news is every market is a market. And it doesn't matter where you are right now. There is a proven path for you, as long as you know, and this is why you can get yourself set up in 30 days, but the reality is you need to dedicate 12 months. And as you'll hear me talk about in Module 1, for goodness sake, if you want to be a doctor, do you know how much first-year doctors make on average? In the United States, it's $53,000, their first year out. And that's after they haven't had a social life since the age of 10. They've had tutors, they don't go to social things, because to get in, and by the way, they've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in tuition in college. So you could spend every waking hour from 10 to earn $53,000 and go through 7 years of tertiary education. Or give me a year. Right? Do this stuff for a year in a market that you love, part-time, and earn enough money to consider doing it more, to make it your niche style type of business. That's the promise. That's what we're building towards here in the challenge. And that's what I think is really, really important. And there's never been a better time in small niches to build, make that 100,000. For goodness sake, if you've got $100,000, you can be anywhere on the planet. You can do this business from anywhere. That's what's exciting. Flexibility is so exciting. All the bullshit about, it's true. It's true, right? They do have the fancy cars and the fancy boats and, the $1 million day long. It's all true, right? But I think it's so distracting because the reality is none of them did that in their first month online. Nobody did it in their first month online. Nobody did in their first 12 months online. Right? You build up to that. $1 million day takes 2 years prep. It's just the facts. But it's cool because guess what? I don't care where you're starting from. I know you can carve out in an area that you've always wanted to carve out. Now, you mentioned personality. So this is the second part of answering that question. Once you know that market that you're passionate and excited about, then this is where Kolbe comes into it, is then the way you communicate to that market, that's what you need to choose, your mode of communication. Because for some of us, that'll be a written form of communication. For some of it, it'll be auditory. For some of us, it'll be doing stuff like I'm doing now, live broadcasts. There's so many ways for you to interact. You can do podcasts, you can do YouTube channels, you can do blabs, you can do PDF reports, you can create a blog, you can use Tumblr, you can do Instagram, for goodness sake. So many, literally hundreds of ways of communicating to your market now. That's the thing you've got to choose. And guess what? We cover that in the challenge. What tools do you use to pull traffic to your website? I'm going to put that on hold because there aren't a lot of tools. Any automated tools for getting traffic to your website? Question mark. So rather than answer that, let's table that question and perhaps better to ask about specific strategies, because there are all sorts of things, and there's so many ways to get attention in this day and age. Facebook is a huge favorite, right? And by the way, where did people learn about marketing for Facebook? The challenge of 2009. So, what's great about what we're doing here, and rather than the core fundamental material, we want to keep things like traffic and stuff to broadcasts like this, because things are changing all the time. Instagram is an amazing way to get traffic. YouTube advertising in a YouTube channel, amazing. There are so many ways to get traffic. Just like the other question, it's more about what's your person, how do you fit in? How do you, in the lowest energy requirement possible, gain attention and get traffic, and test these things cheaply and quickly. And that's what we look for. With all the new sites and social media platforms popping up all the time, how do you stay focused and choose the best ones? Well, I'm not a good person to ask that, because my job is to stay ahead of the curve. So I spend most of my day researching and looking at all of these different things. You shouldn't be doing that as a general rule. And using a process like a Kanban process up there is a way to keep your eye on the prize and understand what's important. Because, understanding the key areas of focus in creating any business, and there are only 6, understanding those key 6 areas of focus and asking yourself, have I done something on my 6 weeks? And that's why a visual board is so important for so many people. Because, unless you can visualize your workflow, here's the thing that we know. There's a Zernick effect. You talk about incredible breakthroughs in brain science. If you complete something and there was no sort of a big emotional gain or pain to that completion, you forget about it instantly. Your brain has to flush it from the system. It's dealing with too much stuff. And so often you sit back at the end of the week and you go, what did I do? And you'll have no recollection. You actually have done quite a bit of stuff, but you'll have no recollection. That's why you need some sort of visual process to do all of this sort of stuff. So that is very important. Another great question here is, what sort of businesses does this process apply to? Every single damn one. Okay? It doesn't matter what type of business. The fundamentals of the challenge are exactly the same. The way you tackle it, tools, techniques, and so on, will change. The medias will change. But the fundamentals are identical. Identical. I don't care what you do. For goodness sake, look at what happened in Tesla this week. Amazing thing. But look at that. That is a physical, real-world business that effectively ran a launch, email registrations, created a funnel, and then did effectively a $7 billion launch day, right, with the number of pre-orders. They've changed the game in the automotive world, right? They've literally dropped every single manufacturer on the seat of their pants, changed the rules. But those fundamentals, list building, building a market, understanding your niche, people are interested and passionate about electric cars, understanding that, those are fundamentals. That's a physical, real-world business with actual shops. For goodness sake, you get the car delivered to you. Yet the fundamentals, boom, are exactly the same. And that's why we've been very careful to choose what we put in the core challenge so that those fundamentals are applicable across the board. Which, by the way, I will tell you is a terrible thing to do for most of you, right? You shouldn't aim to have products which apply to everybody, because that's bad. And in truth, the challenge doesn't apply to everybody. It's for entrepreneurs. It's for people who want a plan B. So that's how we target, right? So we are targeting. But it is a very, very good lesson. Will you teach us to promote, sell our own homemade products? Oh, you bet your sweet patookie we will. Talk about things that have changed. Oh my goodness, Etsy. The market for you to be able to create your own stuff and build it is immense. The whole field of crowdfunding didn't exist. I don't understand why. Look, because what did Tesla? Let's use Tesla again. People were actually signing up. My good mate Don McAllister rocked up in Liverpool. Put down his $1,000, and if you know Don, he's not the type of person to whack down $1,000 easily, let me tell you. And he Sight unseen, didn't know what the car looked like, didn't know what the car was, didn't know the price of the car, slapped down $1,000. And he's probably not going to get the car for 3 years. That, my friends, is called crowdfunding. Tesla have just done the biggest crowdfunding exercise in human history. It's unbelievable. Brilliant. But why can't we apply that to our own courses right here? Why can't we do that for our exciting, products and services? Because once you've built a list, then you can say that, hey guys, I'm considering doing a limited edition, let's make it up, let's use Etsy. I'm considering doing a limited edition watch band because you guys all love my watch bands and I'm going to do one for the Apple Watch. So you do it on Kickstarter. So what do? You create the video, you send out the email to your list, and they'll either fund the Kickstarter or they won't. If they fund the Kickstarter, guess what? You've got all the cash to do all your development and you deliver your product. And if they didn't want it, guess what? No skin off your nose. The cost of doing a video and your time putting it up on Kickstarter, as long as you have the list. If you don't have the list and you try to do a Kickstarter, you're stuffed. Do you see where I'm going with this? So again, never been a more exciting time to be alive. Never been a better time to start an online business. Never. Because you can be so niche and you can target such a passionate small crowd and cater to their specific needs. It's amazing. Zoe asks, with this challenge, will there be any extra purchases needed to complete it fully? No, there will not be. None at all. And indeed, like things like autoresponders and all those sorts of things, you can start those off for free as well. Eventually, you may need to, pay for an autoresponder service, or, if you're doing, if you're getting somebody to build a video for you, yes, there'll be payments, but there's no core requirements for anything other. I do recommend that you do a Colby report. I really do before you kick off, because I think it'll be so useful for you. But you don't have to even do that. It's no problem in doing that. But there's no extra charges, as we've always been the case. There is no charge for awesomeness. Let's have a look at another question. For a Madcast, I wanted to create a dot-to-dot puzzle that kids can play on the tablet. Easiest, most cost-effective way. Thank you. Okay, well, you need to spec out what you need to do, and you need to get it. There's never been a better time to find a programmer to build this for you. However, I would say first, have you built your funnel? Have you built your tribe? Have you asked your tribe what they want to see in these sorts of puzzles? That's the future here. Why build something that you don't know there's a market for in the first place? So that's the sort of questions I'd be asking. How can you test a minimum viable product? What's the simplest, easiest way we can test this with the market? And one thing that pops right in front of my head is there currently an app on the market which sort of does what you like, and you like it and you would recommend it to your tribe? Suit out a recommendation and see how many people click on the link. That'll give you some amazing feedback. Because again, there's the risks that you need to take in creating a business these days are tiny, really. They're tiny. It's time, right? It's the only thing. You need to be conducting experiments and doing all these things all the time. Todd asks, I have under $200 to get started. How can I turn this into something to generate more seed capital to launch bigger programs? Build a list. Build a list. Build a list. Choose a market and build a list. That's the choice you have. You need to try. Haven't got dollars, so you need to put in the time and the effort and the energy, and you can do it, right? You've got to pick your market. And how do you serve that market? How are you going to help that market? That costs nothing. That's a public library. You can go to any public library on the planet, get some computer time with access to the internet, and you can start serving people in that market. That's how you build a profile. But you have to do it with consistency. You have to be utterly consistent to do it. That's how you do it. And so you save your $200, and if you've got a phone, got a smartphone, you've got all the tools you need, right? But you start by understanding your market. What are their pains? What are their gains? What are the jobs they want done? And you build a list, build a list, build a list, and then you can make offers to that list, and they will help fund. You can do a crowdfunding campaign. But you've got to build the list first, and the only way you're going to build the list is by helping people, serving them. serving them very specifically. And that's what you'll learn in the challenge. Andy says, no question, just a sincere hats off. Oh, thank you. I'm in your Achiever Club, which is the thing I was talking to you about, the Achiever formula. Although I'm not very interactive, I think it's awesome. And he's stayed up from Dublin. Thank you very much for you doing that. That's awesome. Dale asks, does this year's challenge provide insight on how to best use our Kolbe strengths? That is the job right here of this live broadcast. So yes, absolutely it will, because if you know your Kolbe, you can ask questions. I encourage you to pop your Kolbe numbers in when you're answering and asking questions, and I will be able to answer your questions. Like, for example, somebody said just earlier on, what's the best traffic method to use? If that person had given me their 4-digit Kolbe number, right, I would be able to tell them, here's what you need to try first, because it would be the easiest for them to try because of the style of action. Or they're saying, I don't know how to create a lead magnet. What lead magnet should I create? If you give me your Kolbe number, like a mentalist, I will be able to tell you what's the easiest thing you're going to be able to create. It's like magic. And so that's what these broadcasts are all about. So you'll have the capability of asking questions. And I really encourage you, from next week's broadcast on, please, and feel free to share your Kolbe. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not like I've got an IQ of 73 and I don't want anybody to know that. The Kolbe, whatever your number is a number you should be proud of, right? It's not, you are who you are. And I want to develop and build and design things around you. And that's the reason that this is the case. Now, Miles asks, how long are the weekly sessions? Well, we've gone an hour and a half. Typically, there will be 40 minutes of content, and then I'll just keep answering questions. And, of course, there's a lot at the moment. I imagine the broadcasts will go down to around the hour sort of mark. But, I will keep ask questions. Michael Tippers just said, and you won't understand this unless you know your Kolbe, is 7733, tell me more. He's a high fact finder, and so he wants to know all the knowledge before he starts and wants to know exactly which way to go, which is actually another reason, because there are a lot of high fact finders, why we've published the entire challenge 4 modules, because the high fact finders, they really need to know where they're going with all of this. So we've done it. And high fact finders used to hate the old challenge because we just reveal content a day at a time and they never know what's going on. Whereas us high quick starts are like, yeah, YOLO, let's go. So let's have a look. You mentioned podcasts a few minutes ago. Will this be good for setting up podcasting? Oh, yes, absolutely. Because again, it's about podcasts is just an area I'm particularly passionate about. Always have been. By the way, you will be able to, spoiler alert, this whole thing that you're listening to now will be available as a podcast going forward. Obviously, it's not yet because we need to get a couple in the chute. But all of this will be available as a podcast for those of you who enjoy podcasts. So that's sweet as well. Just a little spoiler alert there for you. But again, yes, but a podcast is a means to an end, right? It's a product to serve your market. You need to know what the market's pains, gains, and jobs to be done are. You need to understand where they are. You need to be serving them. And a podcast, by the way, can be a great list building mechanism. Now, there's some challenges with a podcast because typically people are doing something else while listening to a podcast. So often it's not a good time to directly get them to fill in something, but there are many, many methodologies and strategies. So the answer of the challenge, yes, the fundamentals of the challenge will be awesome for somebody who is starting a podcast, because you really need to understand your market first, right? You need to understand where their pains, gains, and jobs to be understood. Whereas in the market, understanding is still the first part of the process. However, in 2005, and indeed up till the last challenge, it was all about, is there a market for your stuff? We know the answer to that question. The answer is yes, right? Yes, the answer is yes for any market. Spoiler alert. However, it's your understanding of that market which is so crucial and so important. And so we want you to build that understanding. That is what's important for you to build on. Okay, so that is the key element. Dale's put his 6285 Colby, you actually have to ask me a question in context, Dale, for me to tell you how that's useful. But I do note that you're that classic high quick start, moderate fact finder. So yes, there's certain characteristics, and indeed, one of the best things you can do is have a look at, particularly for those of you who took the Colby test a long time ago. They've changed it, it's awesome. You can log in now, and they've updated all their systems. They actually tell you a hell of a lot more, which is fantastic. Do you have your mic on? Yes, I do. Are all broadcasts at this time? Mostly they will be, Andrew, because I wanted to have some sort of regularity with the live slot, so I just want to make it regular. Never going to be able to please everybody, so I'm pleasing me. But of course, they will be available in replay during the week, so you'll always be able to have a look at them, because again, if you're prepared to give me your attention, I'm not going to force you to be up at a weird hour of the night. I can't do that. You don't have that luxury in this day and age. You can't treat people like that, because they'll just go to somewhere who doesn't treat them like that. Of course, there's fun. We have fun on the live broadcast, but, and that's your ability to get live questions answered. But, hopefully watching and we'll always have the content first and then the questions, because some people don't like listening to questions either. So again, let's keep it flexible. Let's make it for you. Because product is so easy in this day and age, we can cut and slice and dice this. We can make a podcast for those of people who love podcasts, etc., etc., etc. Something I encourage you to do, all in your particular niche. Okay, let's have will you cover the visual board in this course? No, not specifically. It's really out of the context, I suppose, of what the challenge is all about. And as I say, for 35% of people, they don't need it. But if you are interested, keep an eye out for we're about to open a new semester of Achiever Formula, and that is literally all about that. It's about you personally. We do it for one-man bands, and then we teach people about how to do it with teams. And we do it in the context of Colby, because 65% of you high quick starts, low follow-throughs, you suck at being a manager. You can't manage people. The reason you're an entrepreneur is because you hate being managed. And, spoiler alert, you suck at being a manager. That's why outsourcing's never worked for you. Right? It's your fault. Not the outsourcer's fault. It's your fault. How can I say this to you? Because that's me. Right? And fortunately, there are people that you can hire in the world now who will take over all of that. And that's the Scrum methodology. So that's Achiever Formula. It's a whole course. It's a whole thing that deserves its own special attention. So no, it's not part of this. Dennis asks, will any of this touch on Scrivcast? And for those of you who don't know, Scrivcast is a product that John Bass and I developed for mobile devices. We asked ourselves the question, what would happen if you tried to invent a blog in this mobile world? And that's what Scrivcast is. Of course, the answer is the challenge is fundamental to Scrivcast, because understanding your market and building a list and a funnel is absolutely the most crucial thing any business. It's job one for your business. So it's going to be fundamentally awesome for your business as well. So absolutely. Kenneth says, can't wait to see the awesome tools we're going to use this year. Still haven't used Market Samurai and KD Publisher. Wow, there's a blast from the past. Traffic will actually going to be almost simple with the awesomeness that you give us. Thank you, Kenneth. And not a lot of tools in this year's challenge, I've got to say, because most of it you don't. There is going to be some, and there's going to be some cool techniques. Nothing you have to pay for, but pen and paper is the most important tool that you can possibly have. I'm convinced of that now, and you'll see why as we go through the challenge. Betty asks, and this is a great question, what if you've got no clue of what you want to do? How do you figure out a niche? You do Module 1 of the challenge. It's what it's all about. It's about you figuring out what you want to do. There's a process for that. It's crucial, and there's plenty of people just like you. You want to do something, right? You don't want to be doing what you're doing. You want to establish, you'd love to do a business. And, if you want to start thinking, again, the whole challenge is available to you as of tomorrow morning, or indeed, if you're watching this in replay, it's available now. As long as you sign up using that banner, you can, just as long as you go to challenge.co and your email's in there, you'll get all the details. that would be a thing. Now, Cheryl asks, Ed, you mentioned the 5 things that you do a day. Would you mind sharing those? Not on this broadcast because we don't have the time, but here's the cool thing. If you go to achiever.co and you sign in there and you download the app, guess what? Not only do you see my 5 rituals, you actually get a bonus video series where I actually explain to you all of my 5 rituals in depth, in detail, totally for free. So you can grab that there and you can go into depth, because I find them really important and valuable, and you may well find them too. So you can do that in detail because I've specially shot videos there, and again, totally free. It's totally there. And as I say, for a lot of you, you'll enjoy putting your own rituals in there because, like I said, 60% of you need help when it comes to productivity systems, because most productivity systems are designed by people who are into productivity systems and actually have the follow through to write down what a productivity system is, and that's not an entrepreneur. Some of you, high fact finder, high follow, there are a percentage of people who are like that, no question about it. But for most of you, it's not you. Richard asks, what's the daily workload of the course? That is totally up to you this year. I'm not going to tell you how to work. I can make a big suggestion though, right? And I really think you should try to carve out 30 minutes a day. And it's much more important to do that, 30 minutes consistently. You'll notice most of the videos, most of the lessons, each lesson is designed to watch the video, then do the thing, right? Please don't binge watch it like Netflix. You can. And we know that there are high fact finders amongst you that will be desperate to binge watch it because, hey, you love education. It's like crack cocaine for you. Won't help you do your business at all, but hey, we've got to cater to everybody. But it's all about that consistency. If you can take action every day for just 30 minutes, that's what's going to get you. That's what's going to get the job done. All right. Okay, let's go through here. Okay. When will your facial cream for eternal youth be on the market? Can't believe you haven't aged a bit since you first did the challenge. You obviously haven't looked back to the 2007. I had hair back when we started. It was brown, not grey. So there's you need to go back and have a look at my first YouTube videos. Very, very different. But thank you, bless you. That is awesome. Electricity down here, been watching on mobile, down to 26% battery, have to sign off. Oh, I think you've seen most of it, Roger, but that's fantastic. I'm bringing my friends along. That's a great idea. Look, it's such a great idea to have, if you can, have a little bit of a team. It's an awesome way to build things and have accountability amongst your team. It's another reason we want to do the live broadcast, because you check in each week, and it's a great way to do that. I think we're getting there. If you've got a desperate question, pop it in right now, because we're about to wind it up. And if I've missed a quick, because we've got a lot, just to give you a context, we've had 298 questions during this broadcast, so I haven't got not much more here. You're absolutely true with that. I lost it early, but you're right. So if you've got a desperate question right now we do that. Pete asks, should we use the challenge to train our VAs or our team? Absolutely. I know many people, and it's funny, I get literally people come up to me at conferences all the time that use the challenge to get people up to speed with being involved in a business. I know plenty. Weirdly, even more thrilling for me because of my dismal university/college career, my utter inability to attend class may have had something to do with that. The challenge is being used in Masters of Business degrees in the United Kingdom, in South Africa. It's astounding to me. It blows my mind. And I sincerely hope that that's the case. And I want to encourage you to, this is something to share. Don't package it up and try sell it on the Warrior Forum, of course, because I will find you with a baseball bat and exact my revenge, Punisher style. But I want to encourage you to get as many people as possible to that's why it's here. That's why it's there. And it spreads by you sharing it. So please, I encourage you to do so. And I think it's an awesome thing to use for teams and VAs. One thing, Stephen asked, free until when? Free permanently. We've been free for 10, almost 11 years now. So it will continue to be free. It's not a, we make our money plenty of ways. Don't worry for us. We will make plenty of offers, like Achiever Formula I've mentioned. I strongly encourage you to buy that when we do that. If you want to give us money, there are many, many opportunities for you to give us money outside of the challenge. Love to receive your cash in many different ways, but not through the challenge, right? That's the deal. Richard, it's up in the Netherlands. You awesome man, because I can't even imagine what time it is there. Hopefully you went to bed early and got up. Okay, just going through here. Paul asks, perfect time to revisit the challenge and get updated and motivated. I have 2 products, one physical in production now, and I have another information-based. The challenge, I'm sure, will answer many questions as how to move forward. One division is to make use of to create the websites. I can do one, but the information website is far more complicated. Do you explain how to find the right people to help you move forward, as you cannot do it all yourself? Paul, you're absolutely right. And one thing that Scrum and Kanban and all these things will talk about, and indeed we actually, the first thing I would say, have you got your funnel built for these tools? Are they targeted for the same market? That's one of the first things I'd ask you about that. Second thing I'd ask you is pick one. Ship one. Deliver one thing. Particularly and this is something that will come through in the Kolbe indexes. A lot of you will be high quick start, low follow through. And for those of you, because that's the most prominent type of entrepreneur profile, we suffer from squirrel syndrome, which means we'll try lots of things, right? And we will try, but lots of things catch our eye and we lose focus very quickly. You really need to focus on one and use shipping, and that's very important. Stan says just ship. Stan says just installed Achiever on my phone. Thank you very much. Awesome. I hope you enjoy it. Elizabeth says, why Achiever instead of using iCal? Okay, the difference for Achiever here, the difference is that iCal is for appointments, for specific times, things you do at specific times. If you're super organized and not like me, then it would make sense to make calendar appointments for ritual type activities. But there are ritual type activities that, for me, if I do them at a certain time each day, it'll kill me, right? You may as well punch me in the face. With my high quick start and my low follow through, stuff that I have to do on a regular basis is, it's tough. I can't do it. And I think a lot of people listening to this will get that. And so what Ritual does is it reminds me at a time which is relevant to me, because these are things I want to do each day. Having something on your calendar every single day is potentially annoying to people. But there's certain of you who will find iCal totally useful. There is a certain breed of, if again, using Kolbe terminology, if you are a high fact finder, 7, 8, 9 in follow through, you don't need Achiever. You don't need that app. You are the type of person who loves organizing system and you follow through. You use those systems. Your problem is that you're scared to do a marketing test. You're scared to get into the field because you want to know the result of something before you do it. And that is a huge deal, right? That is a huge deal for you. That's your issue. And so my job here is to push you over the edge and show you a way of conducting experiments which trick you into realizing that you can only be right or wrong in hindsight, right? You can only be right or wrong in hindsight. That's the reality of life. Yet, unfortunately, for those entrepreneurs who are the high fact finder, high follow through, you sort of want to know if you're right from day one. And that is a big issue. So we need to fix it. Don't worry, there's a fix. That's the good news. There's a fix. Geraldine asks, hi Ed, I've started the challenge before and Madcast but never finished. My Kolbe numbers are 3494. They speak for themselves. That's exactly right, because you are a high quick start like I am, low follow through also like I am. So that is a big issue. There's a couple of things that you can do to help. One is develop you need a physical, real world way of showing how you work. You need something like this, a Kanban board. The book that I would recommend for you is called Personal Kanban. Okay, personal Kanban. And hopefully, as we go along, I'll come up with ways to put these recommendations. In fact, I'm pretty sure personal Kanban will be our book of the week for next week's episode. But the biggest suggestion I can give you right now is to search out the book Personal Kanban, because for people who are high quick starts, low follow throughs, this board you see is a miracle. It is an absolute freaking miracle. You will never ever have achieved so much by using this board. It's designed for you. It is amazing. Phil asks, how long will the challenges lessons be available? As long as they're relevant. We're not shutting it down. Again, who are we to tell you when to do the challenge? We're all big boys and girls now. I'm not your parent. You're not my child. So, you just keep doing it. Are apps such as Achiever available as desktop apps for those of us without smartphones? No, Richard. And why haven't you got a smartphone? And now, there may be a very good reason for that. But job one, the very first purchase is you should need to go out and get a super cheap smartphone of some description. Why? Because you need to understand how the market is working. Most Joe and Jane Smith are not accessing your website on the desktop. Okay, they're just not. Right? 90% of people who are our customers access Facebook on their mobile device. Their mobile device. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and spend a fortune, but you need to do it. And Callum's just saying, oh, yes, it is. Oh, how do you spell Kanban? K-A-N-B-A-N. K for kilo, A for apple, N for Nelly, B for Bob, A for apple, N for Nelly. Do we have a new song, Ed? No, we do not have a new song. I haven't dared ask Phil because he's been so wonderful for so long. But who knows? Daredevil reference, Punisher style. Exactly. It's so awesome. I'm just loving it. I haven't quite finished it yet, so no spoilers. Tyler says, I'm an actor and I want to have the freedom to audition and take classes. Hallelujah. What kind of flexibility could the challenge provide me to achieve my goals in acting and making some income online? Well, you do. You need to cut. It's perfect, right? Because that's where I think the future is. It's certainly what I'm teaching my kids to do. All of my kids, they can watch their YouTube stars, no problem. But here's the rule. For every 10 hours of content they watch, they need to produce an hour of content. Right? Because you need to be a content producer. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to be a content producer, not a content consumer. Now, I consume a lot of content. Trust me, I love it. I'm not going to make you feel bad about watching awesome YouTube videos, blowing things up with Mentos and pursuing your acting. What would be extremely exciting, and this is what I want people to do. And it's funny, we joked before at the start of the broadcast about me going back and DJing. When I was, a young whippersnapper and broke as, one of the things I so desperately wanted to do was to go to one of those sound engineering courses, because I was always very passionate about music and audio. And I want to do it. I couldn't afford it. No way could I afford it. Now I just saw an ad on the tram for going and doing a sound engineering course, and I thought, you know what? I can go do a bloody sound engineering course. You bloody beauty! I can do that now because I've got the flexibility to do it. That's what's exciting about what we do, and that's what I want it to be exciting. So, I know. Here's the thing. I know if you're not stressed, because most people, I think about guys like Robin Nolan, gypsy jazz guitarist, who's touring the world now, makes amazing money teaching people gypsy jazz guitar, has an amazing magcast, and does workshops and seminars. He doesn't have to sleep on people's couches anymore, And as an actor, you're going to be a far better actor if you can take classes and not be stressed about where your next meal is coming from, where your next, where you're going to be sleeping, right? If you can get those basics covered, then all of a sudden you have the freedom to be able to pursue passions like that. And then maybe, and often, you want to keep sometimes your passion like that, you want to keep it a little separate from your business. Because, trust me, every passion that you have, once it's a business, okay? It becomes a business. So you need to think about that. But gosh, this is what we do. Oh, really? Just downloaded Personal Kanban. I hope that's the right one, because she's saying it's free at the moment for Kindle. Is that the case? If that's the case, we're doing an email about that. Let's not turn off the broadcast accidentally. Sorry about this. We're almost finished. So I'm just going to check that out. Personal Kanban Amazon. Here we are. Personal Kanban mapping work. Oh, my goodness. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, it is indeed free right now. But if I think it's $9 if you haven't got Kindle Unlimited. But it is a Kindle Unlimited book. And now all you fact finders are going to go and buy 30 books on Scrum and Kanban. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. There are only 2 books. I always love Gary Halbert. He said, here are 2 books you can read on copywriting. Then you were to burn all the rest. Right? He wouldn't let me read any other books on copywriting because you have to do it. You have to get in the field of play. Right? You have to actually do your board. You have to do this. So Personal Kanban is the... And actually, can I show this? How do I do this? Is that... No. I should have done it on this one here. I'll show you the book. I'll just click it here. Obviously, this is the unprepared segment of the whole broadcast. But I do want to make sure you guys get the right book, because that would be bad. Personal Kanban Amazon. Set up the shot here while we're doing this. Riveting broadcasting right now. But here we are. That is the book. That is the one. And fantastic. November 3, 2015, amazing day of my life. I've only been doing it fairly recently. It's been a massive change. So, yeah, I thoroughly recommend that book. All right. With that, let's just bring it all down here. Let's bring it to where we are. Right now, sign up here, and by the time you see this, or if you're watching live, when you wake up tomorrow morning, in your email box, there will be an email which will have your username and password to access the full challenge. The full challenge is available online starting tomorrow. Pardon me. It's going to be an amazing journey. Can't wait to share this with you. Can't wait to see you next week. And again, if you're not signed up here, you're not going to hear about the live announcements. You're not going to hear about any of that stuff, because we don't want to bombard the rest of our list who are not interested in the challenge with challenge-related materials. So live broadcast times, book recommendations, all those sorts of things will be going to this here email. So make sure that's the email that you want to get us started on, and you want to receive your login details, and we'll be off to the races. Thanks, everybody. I just want to shout out John Bass, who has been amazing with all of the work behind the scenes to make all of this work. It's awesome. Thank you so much, JB, for being part of that. I hope you noticed we were in 1080p. So just literally half an hour I got my 100 megabit connection 30 minutes before our first broadcast. So that was thrilling as well. With that, I wish you good luck on the challenge. I'm going to be here. We're going to be here. We're going to be talking each week, and I can't wait for you. And if you've got suggestions, feel free to let us know in the questions box. The questions box is live during the week. You can access it inside the challenge. Feel free to leave suggestions as well, and I might even come up with a better way to do suggestions. Again, lots of notes for us to do. And again, your first one will always be your roughest. It's the way it is. With that incredible piece of wisdom, I wish you all the best. I need to find where my streaming thing is. Would you believe we've had 525 viewing hours? That's awesome. With that, thank you very, very much, and I will speak to you all real soon.